Hello, this is Cho of the Shiny Colors Discord, and welcome to another episode of the Shiny Review. Today we're going to be taking a look at the latest SSRs for the gacha, which are Mamimi and Meguru, as well as the event SR Mano. Starting things off, we have Mamimi. Antika's first SSR for Series 5 introduces a new aesthetic for the unit, trying their best to take away the spotlight from Nocchill, with an underwater theme. Mamimi is a visual dance unit who has an interesting split in terms of her appeals, with one being guaranteed to go first, and the second guaranteed to go last. Most of her passives are split evenly between these two stats, so being able to make her a dual stat unit is fairly feasible if you put in the effort. She's an interesting upgrade to Dance Antika if you weren't a fan of the event SR Mamimi cards, though I feel losing out on the 150% dance buff Link appeal is something that ultimately hurts more than just having access to a 3.0 Link. Her passives are incredibly strong for what it's worth, and her memory appeal is strange, but potentially strong if you're split on Dance Visual. She can't replace Mamimi for Visual Antika unless you missed out. I somewhat recommend you pull for her, kind of on the lower end, since she is permanent and I don't think she's necessarily a huge heavy hitter in the current meta, but she does have some interesting aspects, so it all depends on what you believe when it comes to pulling. Her roles are Attacker, Revenge, Health Cut, and Attention Down. Mamimi's initial skill is a fast Visual 3.5 appeal, so this means you will always go first in the queue. It reduces your mental by 20% of your current health, and you reduce your attention by 10% for 2 turns. This links into a Visual 3.0 appeal. At max, this becomes a slow Dance 4.5 appeal, so you attack last, guaranteed. It reduces your own mental by 60%, and reduces your attention by 15% for 2 turns. This links into a Dance 3.0. Her 1-star passive is a Dance Visual 25% up that requires your mental to be 74% or lower, and has a 20% chance to activate twice. This also unlocks a plus 50 Visual Uncap. At 2 stars, she actually unlocks 2 separate passives. The first being a Dance Visual 50% up that requires your mental to be 49% or lower, and has a 30% chance to activate twice. The second being a Dance 20% up that requires your mental to be 74% or lower. This has a 50% chance to activate twice. Her 3-star unlock is a Dance Visual plus 100 uncap, and at 4 stars she gains a Dance plus 150 uncap. Her memory appeal when maxed out is a Dance 2.0 that links into a Dance Visual 2.0 that attacks all judges and increases its effectiveness based on how low your mental is. So this is where the revenge part of her really plays in. For support recommendations, setting up your supports will heavily revolve around which stat you prefer. Include visual options early for 0 to 3 stars, which will probably work best, while switching to dance will better suit a 4-star Mamimi. Always try to splash in Antika supports if you produce in grad to receive that sweet 5% bonus skill if you decide to earn enough tokens for each of those cards. For the alternatives, SP masteries are always appreciated when producing cards, and we continue the same trend as above. Grab visual if you don't have too many copies of Mamimi, opt for dance if you max her out. New Meguru has some interesting applications for Mamimi, since they share the exact same appeal split, but it might not be too useful. For team recommendations, we actually have 2 separate teams. We'll take 2 approaches today. First, we have a mostly visual-focused Antika centered around Sakuya 2. If you don't plan on pulling many copies, or you found your first copy of Mamimi and stopped, this team might work best for her. The buffing power from Kogane can help set up for better damage, while Mamimi sets up by lowering your mental so that Sakuya can do the most damage she can. You also of course have Kiriko 3 who applies visual buff and a means to revive yourself in case things get dangerous, and Yuika is here to supply further visual damage. The second setup, which is primarily dance, allows Mamimi to shine a bit more for the units that want to take full advantage of revenge appeals, which can be much more tempting if you have access to the Mamimi 100% passives through either of her SSR supports. So in this case, we actually have Yuika 3, who still capitalizes on revenge. We have other cards such as the poisonous Sakuya 3, and the revival of Kiriko 1. Mamimi as a center, we'll say is about an A+. I think she's very strong, but I don't think that she's necessarily a big meta center. I still think it's better than much of the others that we've had in the past. I believe that as we progress further into Shiny, dual stat and triple stat memory appeals are going to grow in popularity as building multiple stats is much more feasible. That being said, Mamimi has a reasonably solid memory appeal, especially for the backup AoE damage to consider. She's an interesting glance to see potential Antika centers going forward and should serve nicely if you choose to pick her up. As a unit, she gets anywhere from a B to an A. It really does depend on what team you throw her onto. This is going to mostly depend on how you feel about her fast versus slow appeal, and if you think cutting 60% of your current HP away is valuable to your strategy or not. Not every team can necessarily use this well, but this Mamimi once maxed out can make a huge case in conjunction with either of the dance support Mamimis, as having way easier access to 100% dance buffs is real hard to pass up. She's potentially a new splashable support, but we'll just have to see. Next up we have Meguru. In what feels like an eternity, we have a new permanent gacha SSR support for Illumination Stars, and Meguru brings some interesting signs for things going forward. Meguru is a dual stat support rocking dance and visual, who actively works well for both Illumination Stars and Stray Light with our passives function. Her support skills continue a slightly weird trend for dual stats, but her scaling appeal and generous passives will help most. Her support skills are Idol's Bond, Promise Recovery, Rest Boost, as well as Stamina Support, and her unique support skills are Dance Mastery Dance and Visual Mastery Visual, which reach +8 at level 75. Her support appeal does scale, starting at a Dance 2.0 and Visual 1.0 from level 1, all the way to a Dance 2.5 and Visual 1.5 at level 80. Her TFD idea is Dance, and her Insight token for Grad is also Dance. Meguru's 1-star passive is a visual 30% up that requires you to be in the visual position. This has a 20% chance to activate once. Her 2-star passive is a dance visual 35% up that requires Meguru on your team. This has a 20% chance to activate once. Her 3-star uncap is a +100 to visual, and her 4-star appeal is a dance visual 1.5 that applies a dance visual 15% buff for 3 turns. Her event passive is a dance visual 20% up that requires Meguru on your team and has a 10% chance to activate twice. Meguru earns an A-. I think the main issue with new Meguru is that she feels almost too similar to many of the previous event SSRs for Illumination Stars, and her 0-star self feels incredibly underwhelming in the wake of many other permanent supports across the year. I also think that she doesn't particularly scale super well with the more copies you earn of her, as most of her support masteries don't feel all that good either. I believe this Meguru might be best used for true ending cards, but she might be harder to build fest units with, because the power is not quite there. Should you pull for her? Maybe. It's up to you. Lastly, we have Mano. Our newest event SR follows a similar train of thought as the Meguru we just talked about. She's a solid card for true ends. She's a weaker version of the Audition Mastery Mano from a little while back, but this time she's dance instead of vocal, meaning she can be more consistently ran alongside Princess Kaori for dance teams aimed at true ends. She might even have a niche home in Stray Light. Her support skills are Idol's Bond, Promise Recovery, and Rest Boost, and her unique support skills are Audition Mastery SP, which reaches +4 at level 65, and Dance Mastery Dance, which hits +6 at level 60. Her TFD idea is Dance, and her Insight token for Grad is Vocal. Mano's 1-star passive is a dance 12% up that requires you to be in the dance position. This has a 30% chance to activate once. Her 2-star passive is a dance 20% up that requires your star count to be 10 or higher. This has a 30% chance to activate once. Her 3-star uncap is a +50 to dance, and her 4-star appeal is a dance 2.0 that applies a vocal dance visual 10% buff for 2 turns. Her event passive is a dance 8% up that requires Mano on your team, and it has a 30% chance to activate twice. Mano earns a B-. Mano is a weird card in that she does exactly what she needs to do, but she isn't incredibly compelling at it. As mentioned previously, you might be able to find a use for this appeal on Dance Stray Light if you're trying to set up enough buffs for Asahi, so if you've been looking for a budget option, Mano's available. Now, why is her event passive stronger than Kaho's event SSR though? Should you farm for this Mano? You might as well. I think it's not a bad idea. And that's going to do it for the video today. Thank you so much as always for watching. If you liked the video, make sure to, well, hit the like button and share it around, and make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Next time we'll be talking about whatever banner comes next, so let's look forward to it together. My name is Cho, thanks for watching, and have a wonderful rest of your day.